Well, January the 15th every year is commemorated as Armed Forces Remembrance Day to mark the end of Nigeria's 30-month civil war, which ended on January the 15th, 1970. The federal government notes that this year's commemoration provides ample opportunity to chronicle current landmark achievements by the military in tackling security challenges in the land towards fulfilling the constitutional requirement of government guaranteeing the protection of lives and property. It also published a checklist of its security achievements to date, some of which is the restoration of some sanity in Borno State post-2015, the weakening of Boko Haram, the decimation of thousands of insurgents, and the purchase of new equipment for the military. Joining me is National Secretary, Retired Members of Nigeria Armed Forces, Roy Okidieve. I hope I got that correctly.
Yeah, that's 70%. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah. It's an honor to have you here. Now, let's talk about how far we have come over the years after the Civil War, 51 years ago. Have we learned the lessons? Have we healed? How far have we come? Talk to us about that.
Well, unfortunately, to be sad to say that we have not gotten up to 40%, okay? Because if we add 20% that is in the burner, then we would have scored 60%. Right. But what we have achieved so far is 40 to 30% of veterans' welfare. Now, look at that remark you just made now, that the comments being made is about what the military has achieved in fighting Boko Haram. No, today is not for... Yes. Today you're supposed to be talking about what the government has achieved in the welfare of veterans. That is what the mandate should be today.
You think it is important that our focus should
go there? Because the fighting
Yeah.
troops are watching the body language and are seeing the outplay of the welfare of veterans. If you want to retire from anything, you look at those that are outside. You monitor what they do, how they are being cared for. If there are any benefits, it is being delivered. If they are enjoying such benefits, then you aim towards achieving a meritorious service to enjoy such benefits. So because of that gap, that's why you see a lot of challenges that we have today.
There is a gap.
There is a major gap.
And what is that? How did we get to the point of having that gap?
Excellent. Now, firstly, the dilapidation in delivering governance was global, especially in Africa, then in Nigeria. Like secondary schools, people get into universities because of the strike and the cultism and all that. There are issues, they don't get jobs, the light system, the medical system. So it affected the military veterans' welfare because it was truncated along the line. At a point, when I wanted to join the army, in my father's area, my neighbor was one major, retired Major Okwazu. Everybody loved him and his children. Once he comes out, he's neat, dressed, disciplined. So wanted to be in the army.
Because of that?
Yes. Then we joined the army, and along the line, in the military, I was made to buy boots for myself. I was made to pay for uniform to be sewn when I was given the material. My beret I paid for it from the ordnance. And I said, why? Then the medical, when you get to the hospital, at a point, coming back from Bakassi and all that, I had this infection. Then I was made to pay for this hepatitis B treatment. I was going to buy this drug. That was when I said, hello, if I in service, Special Forces trained, is being treated like this, how do we see the veterans? Then I started to do research. No Google then, no GSM phones. But then we knew that there were newspapers in libraries. So I went to libraries and I saw that soldiers come out for protest. Why? Sorry, veterans come out for protest. And then we fall down on the road and die, and people will be talking about it. And I said, this thing, I need to leave now because you get disgruntled, you get dismissed. So because it's a disciplined environment. So if you don't want to stay, better leave meritoriously with your records intact. So that was the problem. When you begin to refuse to deliver dividends of service to people. When I say refuse, if you can't communicate it, if you don't communicate it, then you are refusing to deliver it. Because the catchment of people you are talking about, they are very enlightened, very educated, very disciplined, and very under control, very much under control by order. Once you give an order, the military is the first to take the highest order, because that is the last bone and the last bedrock for defense of this country. So if you neglect to communicate, the veteran body has written letters. We had to take it away from the rigmarole of public vandalism and all that to register bodies. And these bodies were registered with CAC. And these bodies came together under a canopy to call themselves CCV, so that they can communicate grievances of a lot of people. Then these bodies have met with the Military Pension Board, the Minister, Honorable Minister of Defense. We just wrote another letter to meet with salaries and wages for the outstanding
pension,
the minimum wage was done. It didn't reflect, and it has not reflected. You know, so the SDA Security Department Allowance issue.
Was that what prompted the protest?
Yes, those were the Ex-Servicemen Association. Yes. Everybody is registered and recognized by Military Pension Board. Then each of those bodies are under the CCV. So the CCV does not have the blanket right to say you cannot protest, you cannot protest. But CCV can have a voice to speak for everybody. Now, if the Ex-Servicemen Association go for a peaceful protest, I think that is their right as a registered body, and we should respect it. But then the CCV has gone into a high-level discussion with government. We are even being expected to visit the Salaries and Wages Commission within the coming weeks. We have discussed with the Honorable Minister of Defense. We have discussed with so many people in the catchment of responsibility to deliver this veteran welfare. So if those things are still lagging behind because of table-to-table responsibility, then other people are agitated. If you go to the social media, there are so many veterans that are speaking their minds on social media, and it's not helping the matters at all.
Now, you talked about something that I want you to touch on, communicating. You can't be disgruntled, because if you are, you will be dismissed. Now, communication is a two-way thing. I wonder if there were other avenues, or there are other avenues for persons to speak if there are issues such that they wouldn't feel disgruntled.
Yeah, that's a very wonderful question. Now, you see, we as the REMENAF, retired members of Nigerian Forces, when we came on board and we got registered, we immediately blew up state chapters. And those state chapters have a confirmed commissioned officer as the chairman and a non-commissioned officer as the state coordinator. These state chapters are active, and we are on WhatsApp groups in the 36 states of the Federation. And we have a platform where we communicate to the Military Pension Board. All the chairmen that have been coming and going, we go for visitations, we go for meetings and all that. Now, as a presidency, if you want to reach out to all the veteran bodies, you could through the Military Pension Board. You could. Yeah. So if we have pushed so much outward, we have not gotten commensurate responses to douse the tensions that action is being taken, then definitely there will be agitations. And that is the communication gap that I'm talking about. Because if we have communicated, we have reacted, we have shown discipline by coming as a body and writing letters, then we should see commensurate feedback, especially like this kind of day. This kind of speech should address some of the agitations, should address those that have left service, should address the burning issues, even if to just touch on it. Like the SDA agitation by the veterans is being looked into, like the minimum wage non-reflection is being looked into. Just say something like a feedback that you got all the agitations and all the communications. So there is a breakdown at that aspect. The Military Pension Board, in its part, usually call veterans for meetings. Even when a new chairman comes on board, they try to communicate. They have a hotline. If you have problems where you can reach them, they just open the WhatsApp group now where they put some senior leaders. So any veteran that have issues, communicate it to us. We push it down to them and they begin to look at it. but their actions can be limited because they are not a government action body, especially for where salaries and wages have responsibilities.
Right.
They cannot take action there.
All right, let's get back into history now. Let's look at how we have come again with regards to this day, talking about the end of the Civil War, which is part of why we are commemorating this day. And for some persons, it is that the issues that led us to the war, they believe, are still very much with us. Because I wonder, you were in the military, you saw things, and I would like for you to touch on that. You were part of history, you are part of history. Talk to us what you see. Are these things really still very part of us? Are we healing? Are we learned? And if we are to move forward, how do we do that?
Excellent. Let me connect to only military issues.
Okay.
Now, when some officers grew to the ranks, started to go for courses abroad, like officers from the East who plotted and started the Civil War.
Yeah.
Now, don't forget that they pushed forward that there's discrepancy in promotion, that there's discrepancy in opportunities in the Nigerian military, that it is selected to the North only. So they wanted to break out. Now, those are one of the things that causes coup d'etat also along the lines because of discrepancies. So let's look at discrepancies.
Right.
By right, promotion is supposed to come from units as recommended by commanders, from your performance, your year of service, the courses you have attended. So if you are a lance corporal or a private soldier, before you move to your next rank, there are things that is expected of you to have done to qualify for the next rank.
Right.
So these discrepancies started to come on board when officers would discriminate and select few that are loyal to them to accrue promotion to such persons. So it's brewing. Then it grew also into the officer cadre, where you are a lieutenant, you have gone for your junior course in Jaji, you have gone for certain courses, you are supposed to go, you expect to get promotion. And when the promotion is released, it does not get to your name because of XYZ reason. Maybe you have a grudge with an officer, maybe because of your religion, your tribe, or whatever you accrue it to. Then it started to grow. So this bad blood and discrepancy started to grow. It culminated on the deployment to war and trouble spots. You see a soldier that was posted to Borno, Maiduguri, inside the forest, staying there for 3 years, 4 years. Same soldier is aware that certain people were posted to the Niger Delta, offshore, for Shell, Mobile, protection of expatriates, and he's somewhere. And his allowances are not paid as at when due or up to the amount that he's supposed to get. So, in service alone, that discrepancy has still existed and it continues. So it's one of the things that the military need to look at, because as veterans, being out of service, we have observed all of this and we have seen that it is not an appreciable level to take.
So if we are to address that, how should they go about it?
One of the ways to address it is under the Senate and the House of Rep. They should begin to pass laws. You see, some of the laws they pass is those things that are not going to really cause changes, especially in insecurity and all that. Then the ones that are supposed to make immediate impact, it drags until that administration goes out. Then when they go out after 4 years, you have to present it again. You will hear that it has gone for first reading, second reading. This security department allowance and all of that supposed to have been passed into law and actioned. So when they start to do first reading, second reading, just go and write a reminder letter for the next regime, because it will not get to actionable points. So if you want to really put all of these discrepancies in the military to address the morale of the troops, then you must pass them into law. And you must make sure the judiciary is there to execute it. Because when soldiers come out to complain, officers come out to complain, there are laws in the military that terms it as rebellion and not a legitimate complaint.
Right.
So who is going to rejig some of that? So where are the venting points? As a soldier, as a commissioned officer, a general. Some generals lock themselves in their office and shed tears because of short changes, discrepancies, and they are seeing their men die indiscriminately. But there's nothing they can do. The one that came out to vent, you saw how it's going to end for him. So what is the government going to do as a law to rejig that military angle and say officers and men that feel that they need to vent, this is the channel, which is a safe channel and is going to get action on such venting
and
points.
results, seeing that we are dealing with security issues, insecurities at this point. Now, there are some people asking that perhaps the veterans should come out to assist in the fight against insecurity. I wonder how you see that.
Yeah, a wise country will really exploit that to a legitimate conclusion. Nigeria, for an example, I'm aware that some officers that retire have been called back to advisory levels in one area or the other. In fact, this current service chief, that has been my major trust. That, okay, they are loyal and all of that. Why not form an intervention committee, advisory committee? Let them go. Let the younger officers get some breathing space and let them become advisory body to the fighting troops. They don't give the messages to the fighting troops. They give it to the government. The government dishes it out through the Minister of Defense as an instruction, an order. They have to carry it whether they are loyal to you or not. So if you come out and be an advisory body, then you'll be able to support properly. But I don't have that understanding yet that ex-servicemen are carrying arms and supporting, except through the civilian vigilante,
right,
except through those that are hunters and which we are using in some unpoliced areas right now, through the civilian bodies. But through the Nigerian Legion, I'm not aware of that. Through the Remembrance and so many other veteran bodies, I'm not aware that any veteran is carrying arms now for the government. But I will advise that they exploit that angle because so many left at a young age because of disgruntlement and can be re-engaged to also help in those areas where they live right now, those areas where they work right now that are especially unpoliced areas. They can collaborate.
You mentioned something that I would like for you to perhaps expatiate on, talking about the fact that perhaps those at the helm of affairs now leaving and allowing other young officers breathe, because there has been calls over the years for the president to rejig the security architecture, that perhaps that might change, bring about the change and result that we need. I wonder if you also see things in that perspective.
Let me just give you what happened to me, okay? I was using a phone and I was trying to communicate with my daughter. We were talking. And she asked me, Daddy, update your app. I was like, what do you mean? But I went to a technician, an expert, and they helped me to rejig some of those things. And I just saw some other things dropping, and I could do more with my device. You see, we need to understand that people run out of ideas. That's one. We need to also understand that people's legitimate tenure on a seat, once it expires, it has already put up a backlog of non-deployment of certain persons that have groomed themselves to hold that seat and execute solutions. So there's a limit to what I can tell you if you are the head or the helm of affair, if I'm your subordinate. But there's no limit to what I can do when I sit on that desk and responsibility lies on me to deliver. So that restriction has made it impossible for us to bring in some possible solutions right now. And there are backlogs of solutions that have been approved but not actioned upon. There are technologies that have been offered to the government, which the military is supposed to deploy. But once you don't deploy it, it gets time-barred. Once it gets time-barred, the terrorists, the hoodlums, the vandals, the bandits, they already have a solution to that, your technology. And that is the time it gets approval. That is the time the vendor is funded. That is the time the technology is deployed. And it's useless. So we must ensure that we are active on what is on ground. And that set of people there now, they need to shift ground. They need to. Because if you look at some that will be retired now, they won't have the opportunity to breathe. If you look at those that are plumbing themselves like lieutenants, colonels, that are aiming to get there, there's a stage set now that another set of military heads coming in can use this as an example and overstay. So why will I be dragging my feet as a colonel, as a this, when I have opportunities to work with UN, with oil and gas companies, and why not leave? So a lot of opportunities to utilize our vibrant young officers is being wasted as we are keeping these men there.
All right, so on a day like this now, what perhaps would you say, how would you expect government to, moving forward, celebrate veterans?
I want to get to an airport. I want to see that aged veterans can use the VIP section. I want to get to the airport. I want to see a sign, thank you for your service, veterans. I want to be given opportunities when I get to a mall, to a bank, because some of them that you see, don't look at the majority you can see. Those that will go to villages to visit, those that will go to their mushroom houses to visit, we know their conditions. I want to see a hospital that will take care of veteran health challenges like arthritis, liver function issues, kidney, and all of that, high blood pressure, eye conditions, you know, because these are the issues that an aged body should face. I want to see a communication line where veterans don't get to agitate, where what government is actually doing is communicated to them in good timing, and they see a transparency. So if there are challenges like funding, if there are challenges by the appropriate department not taking action, if there are challenges like a lukewarm desk officer in the government policy hierarchy, then the veterans will know and communicate their grievances to that desk, so that that desk should get alive and action on the veteran challenges. Because this thing I'm telling you is a grave situation that nobody has cared about. I traveled to Dallas, the flight was delayed, I saw veterans going for a meal. It was announced that they should go to certain places for a meal, and I had to follow them, okay? But in Nigeria here, I was supposed to use an air flight overland from Abuja to Ibadan for a crucial meeting. I had to sleep at the airport, and nobody has communicated to me till today that how did you fare, how was it? No. The passengers are even trying to make a case with the company, and nobody is listening. So veterans should have children that have opportunity. If I come to look for a job in NNPC and I put there that my father is a retired, not general, soldier, and I qualify, I should be given that privilege, and I should be told that you are given this privilege, you are qualified, and your dad is a veteran. So veterans' children should also have opportunities, because they can cushion the effect of after service for their parents, you know, and all of that should be made a mandate. We started with the Army Housing Scheme. To date, that Army Housing Scheme effectiveness have not been seen, okay? So when I leave, I need to go and rent a house based on what I have, and that will determine the level and standard of my living.
All right, we'll leave the conversation here now, and I'm certain that the authorities are listening and actions will be taken as when due. Thank you so much, National Secretary, retired member of Nigerian Armed Forces, Roy Okidebe. Thank you for your time.
It's always a pleasure.
Yes.